Hey there, I'm Chris Januszewski, and welcome to the Rebellious Times podcast. Today, we've got the pleasure of Dustin Hillis joining us. Dustin is the president of SafeSpace and SafeSpace specializes in AI technology focusing on facial recognition and object detection tailored for heavily regulated industries like schools and prisons. Dustin, how are you doing today, sir?
Excellent. So excited to be here with you, and thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thanks so much for coming. The title of the podcast today is Breaking Records and Building Capacity, a journey from 100K college sales to AI pioneer. And I always love to start with the participant's story. So learn a little bit about you, about where you're from, about your values, and how you got to where you are today at, running a large company.
Excellent. Yeah, I would say, going all the way back, where to start. Um, from a leadership perspective, I think sports is the first part of my journey that really I started developing skills around, and I played football and also was a pretty good high school wrestler, and became the captain of the football team, captain of the wrestling team. And I recently got invited to go do a speech before the football game. It's actually next Friday. And so I'm going to give what I used to do before every football game, which is when the team's all together there in the locker room, I would have a written down speech and give this motivational, we're going to go kill them speech. And our team still to today down in Dalton, Georgia is considered the best team that they've ever had. And that's really the first time I remember becoming a leader, motivating a team. We had a no alcohol, no drugs policy and we were a bunch of party animals back then. But during football season, nobody did that because winning was more important. And then from there, I played college football for a year, got hurt, and that's when my life pivoted into business and selling. And I started, my dad suggested to go work with this company that sells educational books and software door to door. So that's where I cut my teeth in the world of selling and business. And I was working, Chris, 85 hours a week, straight commission. I had to go over 1,000 miles away from my school at University of Tennessee and find my own place to stay. And then I lived there all summer, working 85 hours a week, 6 days a week, selling door to door. And that first year, I made over 30 something $1,000, and I was able to pay for a car, and I bought a little rental property, paid for school, and then I was broke and had to become a bouncer after that. And so then from there,
Wow,
the journey went on.
that's
I
amazing.
did.
So door to door is really kind of the school of hard knocks. I did door to door myself for a while, straight out of college. I sold Filter Queen, which was a vacuum cleaner. I would have to go into people's houses, and it was generally people who were unemployed because they were the ones that were at home during the day. So I saw some incredible sights there and saw how some people live, but it was an amazing product. And what I learned from actually getting out there and that kind of raw edge of selling, I've taken it with me everywhere I go. So, it's really cool to hear that.
They, yeah, they say if you can sell door to door, you can sell anything.
Yeah, yeah. Quick question before we keep going. Um, Obviously, you're a big football player and fan. What is your team? Because we've got football season back now.
Oh yeah, so obviously going to University of Tennessee, my blood runs orange with University of Tennessee. The Vols had a pretty good first game this last week, and a big one coming up tomorrow. So University of Tennessee. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, so I do like the Titans. Although I must say that as a former season ticket holder for multiple seasons, and I used to host a big tailgate. I'm pretty disappointed with the team recently with the new ownership. She basically dismantled our Super Bowl contending team, and now it's hard to go to a game, even though they have a brand new stadium that's just right outside the window here. I'm probably not going to go to any games because I don't like watching my favorite team lose pretty much every single game. So I'm a Titans fan, but it's really hard to be a Titans fan right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Um, right. Sorry for the diversion there. Let's get back to your story. So you had a fantastic success doing while others were drinking at college. You were out there making money and kind of putting in sweat. What came next?
Yeah, so I did really well, broke the all-time company sales record, and actually got invited to do a keynote out in Scotland. And I was 22 years old, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever having a paid for trip to Scotland. And so at the end of the keynote, a gentleman walked up to me named Theo, and he asked me to coach him. And that was my first time even thinking about coaching. I created a 6 module coaching program, put him through it, and he actually ended up breaking another sales record at that company. And I got more satisfaction out of teaching him, coaching him how to break a sales record than me personally breaking a sales record. And that's when I decided to get into coaching, started writing my first book. And launched through with a partnership of that company that I was selling books door to door with. It was a global conglomerate that invested in new companies, and they invested in me and introduced me to a guy that they wanted me to partner with, and I did. And we started a seminar business that turned into a coaching and training and consulting business. And it grew pretty fast. We ended up growing that business into 10 different countries, had 100 and something coaches worldwide, and ended up developing 4 different coaching curriculums and coached over 20,000 people one on one through that coaching program, which led to them asking me to become CEO of the entire multinational global conglomerate. And I ran, and that had 30 companies in it. So I was CEO of 30 companies for 4 years and solved a lot of problems. Uh, fix a few companies, had to shut down a few companies, started a few new companies, and grew the revenues and left after 4 years of being CEO.
Wow, what an incredible! So this, for somebody coming from the UK like me, when I thought about the American dream coming over, I think your story is kind of how I envisioned the American dream to play out. You know, that's why people come to America to, you know, get off their couches and you know take these opportunities and create opportunities like that. So it's inspirational to hear. Um, let's talk a little bit about your transition over to AI technology, and a little bit more about Safe Space.
Yeah, it happened pretty organically. I took a year off after leaving that company I was with for 20 years. Actually bought an RV and drove across the country with my family, took my daughter out of school. We did road schooling and had a fun time doing that. And then I decided actually to just launch a company called All Things New Ventures. And it was a sweat equity business where I would help grow companies in exchange for equity and serve as their chief strategy officer. And I had several companies I was doing that with, and inevitably these companies would need money and start talking to venture capital type of people. And I thought, as I was talking with these VCs, I was like, man, I could totally do this. So I signed up to attend this conference to learn how to create my own venture capital fund. Funny enough, my goal was to learn how to raise $10 million was my goal. So while I'm there, I meet this guy named Scott Boroff. Scott was there in attendance to meet a few hedge fund managers, and we randomly met in the hallway and got connected. And he said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm learning how to raise money. My goal is to raise $10 million." And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I've organically grown dozens of businesses, and I'm learning to raise money." And he goes, "Well, I have a publicly traded company that you could raise money in, and I need help growing a business organically." And so one thing led to the next, and he came to Nashville, Tennessee, with his wife, took me and my wife out to dinner, and we shook hands and decided to become business partners. And the first thing we had to do was raise money. So funny enough, that was my goal. And that's what I got to start with. So we put a PowerPoint together. We did a friends and family capital raise, started making phone calls, started doing presentations, and raised $10 million in 6 months. And then from there, started recruiting, building the team, deploying the capital. And today, so I'm 1 year into this journey so far. We have offices in Singapore, an office in India, an office in Nashville. The office was already in Knoxville. And we have about 80 team members worldwide and are growing like crazy right now.
That's incredible. So I speak to a lot of founders and VCs in the AI space right now, and it's very crowded. It's very noisy. It's not easy to get investment because a lot of people are doing similar things. What is it about your business model and your story that made the people who invested, friends and family, whoever you got to actually invest the 10 million? What is it about your story and your plans and your unique value prop that really got their interest and made them commit?
Yeah. I would say just my track record, starting with personal production to team building. I think we grew every single year when I was president of that consulting coaching business. Also, every year I was CEO, we grew significantly in revenue and profit. So, just a track record of growth, a track record of winning was what people invest in. And so, I really think that's it. They say you bet on the jockey, not the horse, and I really think that's what it was.
Fantastic. It's really interesting because when a founder's relatively unknown, they're looking traction is going to be key to them. But when you've demonstrated experience of, having growing businesses successfully and building teams, it's kind of a different conversation. So it's really interesting to learn.
It
Um,
is, and you still, I'd add one thing to that. You do need to still be in the right industry. You still need to have macroeconomic trends in your favor. You need a business plan that people can understand and believe in. So all of that was part of the capital raise. Like they knew what they were investing in. They knew our 5 year vision and plan. So it wasn't just hey, we have a good idea or just trust me. We were very specific about where that capital was going to be deployed.
yeah, absolutely. Tell me a bit about your products, your facial recognition technology, and some of the problems that you're solving.
Yeah. We're very excited. Our vision is to be the global leader in multimodal AI technology. And our mission is we help save lives. So, all of the sectors we've chosen to go into are some of the most vulnerable populations. So, we have senior living and healthcare, we have schools, we have transportation, and we have prisons. And so, it's a pretty audacious business plan to start all those verticals at the same time and build all the products for each vertical at the same time. But we are audacious people that have audacious goals that do audacious things. And so we are excited to be going after the market with such vigor. And um, our strategy is we're going to be everywhere, implementing cutting edge AI technology that is niched, that is specific, that is solving huge problems before anybody else even understands what we're doing. And we'll have market share and penetration. So we have some of the best salespeople in the world on our team. And we're talking to some of the biggest clients out there in those sectors. So we're pretty excited about the products within each one of those sectors. Some examples, with senior living, it's like elopement detection. So it's facial recognition for someone with dementia to make sure they can't leave the senior living facility. It's tied to the mag locking system and also an alert system. So everybody will get a text message, they will get a notification on their phone, the screen will pop up with their picture on it, an actual siren will go off saying elopement detect, elopement. You can have it say whatever you want it to say. In the schools, obviously, gun detection is a huge problem. So we're able to detect the gun, send a notification. again, tied to the locking mechanisms. We also have facial recognition. So if you wanted to use the AI for bullying, school fights, we're able to do all of that.
So it's amazing technology, and it just shows how fast, the technology is progressing and feeding into our lives and solving problems. I think, a lot of people will look at facial recognition and the capabilities like that, potentially as okay, is this the start of Big Brother technology? Is this something the government's going to be putting on every street corner and watching facial expressions and tying it to certain policies and what guidance would you have to people around this, or how can we keep this technology for positive, beneficial use, such as the use cases you mentioned, as opposed to the Big Brother?
Yeah, it's very important. The regulation behind AI is something we're focused on. We're meeting with senior legal, government entities on a regular basis. We were in DC just recently meeting with Senator Marsha Blackburn. She told us that when it comes to the Senate, she holds the gavel with anything with AI, and she introduced us to FBI Director Kash Patel. She also introduced us to the head of the CMS, Dr. Oz. And we are meeting with Dr. Oz's team next week about changing laws within the central medical services that restrict AI from senior living, and to show them how they don't have to be afraid of AI, and that companies like us are doing it ethically, honestly, and without shortcuts. But there are bad actors out there. There are Chinese companies that are flooding the market with Chinese chips that have backdoors in them that are training AI models in China, breaking laws, doing nefarious things that would make your stomach turn. And we need to ban those chips. So we were proposing a legislation. We're calling it the Blue AI certification, which is modeled after the Blue UAS certification that drone technology recently went through. And we are proposing that it is illegal in the United States of America to have Chinese AI video cameras operational anywhere in America. And we are getting some
Well,
significant
it
support
is
on Capitol
reassuring to
Hill
know that.
around this, and we think we can get it done.
Love it. I was just going to say it's reassuring to know that we've got an entrepreneur like yourself that's actually taking this seriously, and making intelligent recommendations to government to effectively handle how AI is implemented and keep us protected. So, yeah, I appreciate that, and we'll be rooting for you when you're up on Capitol Hill or wherever you're
Thank
meeting.
you.
um, so you're also a book author as well. I'd love to hear a little bit about your book and what it's about and who it's targeted at.
Yeah. So my book is called Capacity: Building a Business Bigger Than You. And it is a book that is written for entrepreneurs and leaders. And it's all about building systems and processes and people that help you scale your business beyond just yourself. So there are 5 pillars and one bonus pillar, where you have executive strategy as pillar number one, business development strategy is pillar number two, marketing strategy is pillar number three, financial strategy is pillar number four, and legal strategy is pillar number five. And then the bonus pillar is life strategy and optimizing your life as number six, the bonus pillar.
Fantastic. And when will this book be out, and where can people access it?
Yeah. So it's available. It's being published through Ben Bella Books. And so first you can go to my website, dustinhillis.com. And on that, I'm offering different incentives for people to pre-order the book. So if you order one copy, you get a really awesome advanced capacity training emailed to you. If you order 10 books, then you get the entire 6 video training series of capacity. Then, if you order 100 books, you get a day here in Nashville, Tennessee, in our studio where we're going to do a full day training on how to integrate the principles of capacity into your business. And anybody that orders 1,000 books or more gets to come and spend a day with me in Cabo, Mexico. And we're going to have fun and also talk about integrating capacity into your business.
Wow.
Also, the book can be found on Amazon. You can pre-order on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Actually, today, Barnes and Noble is offering a 25% discount on pre-orders. I don't think this podcast is going out today, but anyways, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, DustinHillis.com.
That's a good point. Yeah, it'll be a few weeks, but yeah, your book will still be fresh off the press.
That's right.
Um, so one final subject, I'd like to revisit mentoring. Obviously, with your wealth of experience and success and your passion for mentoring, I'd love to kind of talk a little bit more about where executives should be looking in the areas of focus. I mean, obviously, you've just mentioned within your book, but how should they approach mentoring and kind of how you approach it?
I think everybody needs a coach in life. And it's the reason I started my own coaching business. I have coaches in my life right now. I actually hired a health coach. So I've recently lost 20 pounds.
Hey,
So I'm very excited about that. And my coach is the key. So she has me tracking my macros every day, which I hate doing. I'm on a workout plan and I have to track that, and then I have to report to her each week what I'm doing, and she gives me feedback and coaching. Also business, having a business coach. That's what I have done and will continue to do. So I enjoy working with business owners and leaders, especially people that read this book who want high end executive leadership coaching. I will be providing that for just a few people. And if anybody's interested in that, they could reach out to me on DustinHillis.com or any of my social channels. Just DM me if you think that's something you'd be interested in. But that's something that I personally have done and for 20 years now. And I think that it is what takes you to the next level, a different perspective, the accountability. It just can't be replaced. And so you think of it like a championship team. Usually the coach played a role in building that championship team. And so it's hard to be in the game without somebody giving you a perspective from the outside. And, I think that's what coaching's all about.
brilliant. Well, that's incredibly valuable. And yeah, everybody needs some sort of mentorship. I've had a career coach myself that even with 5 or 6 sessions, it made a difference. It helped me change my perspective and go down the path I was supposed to do. So, yeah, for successful execs that are looking to get to the next level, reach out to Dustin. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Dustin. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor having you on.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody.